So let's talk about, again, the many different balancing acts when you come up with a shadow ministry. Again, House versus Senate, where is the person that they are taking them on, where are they questioning, who's a new phase, who's an old, all the rest of it, right? When you were making what have been considered to be tougher calls, so say somebody who may well have been very prominent in the last election but may not be as prominent in the next 12 months, what was your thinking there? Did you have to start to bring forward a new generation? Were people being pushed because they were negatives? Give me an idea of how you came up with the list.
You're right, Paul. It is a balancing act, but the talent in my party room is extraordinary. It reflects the broad depth of Australia's life experience across this amazing country, from the bush to the city and everywhere in between. So every conversation was about drawing on that talent, which is something I want to do for the future. Frankly, over the years, I've been on the receiving end of calls where I've gone somewhere else in the parliament. And I don't necessarily like the language of going up and down and the backbench being something that is not preferred. From time to time it's not, but everybody can play a role wherever they sit in the parliament, and everyone knows what an extraordinary privilege it is to walk into either the Senate chamber or the House of Reps chamber and advocate for the things they believe in from wherever they are placed. So it was important for me to talk to my colleagues, talk to my team and remind them that opposition is not a hierarchical game. We need all our players on the field, every single one of them, every day, because we've got a really big job to do and we've got a really big fight on our hands. But most importantly, we want to be the best possible opposition as a coalition everywhere, in every corner of this country. We can be and we will be.
I do like, again, some of the 4D chess that you've got to play here, which is putting the right people in the right jobs, but also who are they going to be taking on in the parliament? Because the reality of opposition is making the most of the failures of a government, meaning in the very limited time that an opposition gets to be put on level pegging, which generally speaking, question time, contests matter. And I really like the ones that you've set up here. In Home Affairs, it's going to be Andrew Hastie asking questions of Tony Burke. I like that in small business, it's going to be Tim Wilson asking questions of Anna Lee. I like that when it comes to energy, it's going to be Dan Tehan versus Chris Bowen. I like when it comes to communications, it's going to be Annika Wells versus Melissa McIntosh. How much did that come into your thinking?
Well, it certainly does, and that balance between the Senate and the House is something that you have regard to. It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's important. And I'll add another one, Michaelia Cash, who is now our Foreign Affairs spokesperson, sitting in the Senate as our Senate leader opposite Penny Wong, and she will definitely hold her own and she'll definitely take the fight up to Labor.
So about Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, there are obviously very warm feelings for most people who watch on this channel towards her. No doubt there is inside your party room. She's now literally part of the broader team, but specifically the Liberal team over the Nationals team. She's moving into a defence, what used to be called defence materiel, which is defence personnel, and also levels of defence procurement. Now, I actually think that this is a really interesting area and obviously a very rich one to be able to, through things like Senate estimates, to pull the government apart. But for those that want a specific answer about why Jacinta where? Why Jacinta where?
Well, I share those warm feelings for Jacinta, and I want to make that very clear, and our party room does too, and we're delighted that she is now a member of the Liberal Party. I spoke to her before this appointment, Paul. She's very pleased to take it on. As your viewers know, and you advocate so strongly for, the defence of our nation is crucial, it's critical, and it's one of the most important periods that we are now facing as a country. It determines our prosperity, and defence industry, which you mentioned, can be a great Australian success story, and I certainly saw some of that in the previous parliament. So the industry aspects are vital. Working with Angus Taylor, who's taking on that senior role as our Shadow Minister for Defence, they will be a formidable team, and I'm really excited for Jacinta to take this next step and communicate and build the relationships that she has been so successful doing up until this point, and I know will continue to do.
Now, we've got a lot of time to talk about many subjects, and certainly, of course, your story is an exceptional one, from the shearer's cook to the person being able to do university degrees while being a pilot. There's a lot to talk about, and we are going to get to know you as Australia does in the next little while as the alternative Prime Minister. What I also want to talk about, though, is for those millions of people who didn't get the election result that they wanted, there's obviously that sense of disappointment. But also there's a need to talk to the people who did not vote or may well have changed over the past couple of elections, considering, of course, the win in 2019 versus the result in 22 or 25. I hate to quote him, but it's, I think, a good little way that he took to opposition, which was Bill Shorten saying, first year was about the party, second year was about policy, third year was about politics. Now, obviously, I'm not going to verbal you that the inspiration for the Sussan Ley leadership is going to be Bill Shorten, because we can imagine how that's going to be immediately spun out of control. But how important is it to you that all three of those things look different in 3 years than they looked 3 months ago?
They're all important, Paul, and they're all important from day one. I certainly won't be stringing them out over a 3-year period. We will all be hitting the ground running. There's no doubt that we suffered a resounding defeat on May the 3rd, and Australians handed us a lesson. We have to listen to it with humility, and we have to engage and meet modern Australia where it is. And when I talk about modernising the party, I don't mean moving to the left or the right. Yeah. I mean meeting people where they are and understanding their different initiatives, their different wishes, their different things that are important to them wherever they happen to live. Now, our policies are up for review, but our values are not. What I want to do in setting myself and my team up for this important next stage is to spend time listening. I would love it if you and I could perhaps be on a listening town hall somewhere in this amazing country.
Let's do it.
And genuinely listening is something that you do incredibly well. And you come out of those town halls and those meetings just filled with optimism, because you know what we see around us in the Australian people is very much worth fighting for. So I do want to do that. My team will be doing that. And we will be asking Australians what they want in us. But above all, this is an opportunity, I believe, for us to reconnect, to accept, as I said, with humility, that we didn't meet the expectations of Australians and that we have work to do. But as I've moved through this period of reforming the coalition with David Littleproud and the administration that you necessarily take on as a new leader, I just can't wait to get out there, out into the real Australia that gave me the gifts that I'm so privileged to reflect on today as leader, and make me so determined to want to give back to the country that has given me so much. So there's a lot of fighting to do, and I'm up for it, and I can't wait to get started.
Good stuff, Susan. Thank you so much for the conversation tonight, and there are many more to come. And on behalf of the millions of people who definitely want a different result for the country, go get them.
Thank you.